Hey guys, Earth here. Today I'm going to be doing a discussion video talking about the recent Nintendo Direct and my thoughts on upcoming games from Nintendo. And I have a special guest today. My brother Ty will be accompanying me. Say hello, Ty.
Hi, I'm Ty, or the Epic Eclipse, as the internet tends to know me.
So we're probably going to skip around a bunch. I think you said you want to start with Ultimate Alliance?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me what you think about that?
Definitely thought it looked pretty interesting. It seemed to have nice graphics in the terms of it for a Switch game, much better than I would expect, being unfamiliar with it. But I also liked that it also included local multiplayer, or encouraged it.
Right, so I guess this is something you wouldn't know so much being more of a PlayStation gamer, but Nintendo focuses a lot on the local multiplayer aspects. So like Super Smash Brothers, Mario Party, Mario Kart, they have a lot of stuff that you can play together, like sitting on the couch. I do like seeing that Ultimate Alliance is going with that as well. Although it does kind of suck that it's going to be a Switch exclusive, so you can't get it on like PlayStation or PC or any of that. And I think that kind of probably harms the rest of the market as far as local multiplayer stuff goes. I personally have had a lot of issues with PlayStation not having very many local multiplayer games unless they're the indie games, you know?
Yeah, I have ran into that issue a lot, trying, even just in personal gameplay, trying to find something to play in my own free time, just as entertainment.
Okay, so I think next was Smash Ultimate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously they were teasing 3.0. They gave us Joker, or another look at Joker. They really didn't show us too much, like a little bit of his movement. That was about it. And they told us like, oh, 3.0 is coming. I'm going to be doing a video with Ben to talk about what we think could be done to the game in 3.0 and what they should be doing to help fix some of Smash Ultimate's problems. But otherwise, nice to know that there are at least making some improvements. I'm hoping anyway. So I have here that this seems to be like the Dragon Quest Direct. I think overall it turned out to be more of the RPG Direct.
Definitely.
So I think that the next thing we both had on here with that was that Dragon Quest Builders 2 was on there. You said it looks kind of like Minecraft plus Breath of the Wild plus Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that's what, at least in the direct clips, that's what it looked like.
So do you mean more like the chibi Dragon Ball characters? Because they definitely look more chibi to me.
Definitely, yeah. And then along with that, just kind of their designs and kind of facial expression looked very Dragon Ball-esque from what I know.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I can see that. Now, I personally have never played a Dragon Quest game. I'm not sure about you. That being said, I was not so much interested in Dragon Quest Builders, but right after Builders, they showed us Dragon Quest 11, I believe. And this actually looks pretty interesting to me. Now, that being said, I think the overall issue with this Direct is that there were so many different RPGs that are being shown off, and Nintendo's market in particular is starting to get like really flooded with RPGs. So they just put the entirety of Final Fantasy on the Switch. We got 7 and 9 were announced in this Direct, and they were the only ones that were missing from the last Direct that we had Final Fantasy updates on. We had a Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition released on the Switch as well. So unless they plan on putting the MMOs on the Switch, which most likely isn't going to happen, they have like the entirety of Final Fantasy there. Now we're getting more of the Dragon Quest games. Let's see. So we have the Three Houses trailer, and Fire Emblem has been widely criticized to be too much of a part of Smash Brothers, but it is a really big RPG. So we have all of these different RPGs being announced for this right now. Which one do you think you'd be most likely to play? So you have Ononaki, Rune Factory 4, they announced Rune Factory 5, Dragon Quest Builders 2, Dragon Quest 11, Deltarune will be coming out. Then we have the Final Fantasy games, and then Fire Emblem Three Houses. So out of those, which ones do you think you'd be interested in playing?
Probably the Fire Emblem Three Houses. Just from an outside perspective, it seems like it has the most to offer in a single platform game, isn't it?
Single player, yeah. To me, so for me, Fire Emblem Three Houses kind of looked like Harry Potter meets Game of Thrones.
It did seem very much like that.
It was because like they have the three different houses, right? And that's why it's called Three Houses. But they were basing the houses off of like their geographical location where they came from, which seems really silly to me. But then they have you playing as the professor, right? So you were like picking the person that you're picking from whichever house is your student, and you're like guiding them through.
Right.
So that kind of makes me wonder, like, are you going to be, because it's a JRPG, so they're usually turn-based, right? So are you going to be starting out with a character at like max level with all the best skills, or maybe not max level, but like pretty high, and then you're just like bringing in new party members that are getting progressively stronger? So if you haven't played a JRPG, it's like Pokemon.
Right.
So it'd be like starting out with like a level 100 Pokemon.
It almost seems as though that's the route they could take, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't quite remember it being exactly clear. I think it mostly had you teaching from the school.
So you think you're going to go out as the student is going to be the character that you're like doing the combat with,
Mostly,
and then
yeah.
you get the party with you?
In my mind, it did mention that the fate of the students, as it put it, could end up being up to you.
Right.
So it's almost as if they're trying to say that you'll be there, but you won't really do too much in the field unless you have to step in as the teacher.
Right. Okay, so I want to touch a bit on Ononaki. I'm glad to see new stuff coming out of Square, but it also makes me really cautious. So you probably don't know this, but Square was recently facing a lot of monetary issues. So Final Fantasy 15 hadn't gone exactly how they planned to. They wound up canceling all of the planned DLC for it that hadn't already come out. And I think that they probably made most of the money back that they had lost off of all of that kerfuffle off of Kingdom Hearts 3. It did really, really well for its opening week, and I haven't checked the numbers recently, but I'm sure that it's still selling pretty well, even with criticisms of the story and whatnot. But my concern is that with a new game coming out from them and Nomura going to work on the Final Fantasy VII remake, that we may not be seeing another Kingdom Hearts game for maybe 4 or 5 years, which makes me kind of sad considering we just got off of a 7-year break from the last Kingdom Hearts entry. So Dream Drop Distance came out in 2012, and we just got Kingdom Hearts 3. Right. So it's going to be another long wait, it seems like, until we get another one. So that's kind of upsetting for me. Did you think the game looked interesting, though? Ononaki.
From a PlayStation player's perspective, it's mostly just a kind of a new concept, and it's different from what I'm used to playing and seeing in the gaming world.
Okay, so for me, what I'm thinking as I'm like rewatching through this is that they kind of have the spirits vibe going on, where they said like spirits that you defeat can manifest in you, and the ones that you choose can like change the tide of battle for you. It almost feels like they're ripping off the spirits mode from Smash Ultimate, like the adventure mode, right? Where you go and you use these spirits to get through the world of light, and they like literally designed their entire single player campaign around this. And then we have a Square game that's like, we're gonna do it with an RPG. So it's just a little silly to me, but I really like where they're going with it. I think this idea of reincarnation sounds kind of cool, because World of Light with Smash Bros. Just definitely did not do a good job telling that story whatsoever. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do with that going forward. Next thing I really want to talk about is Tetris 99. So, Battle Royale with blocks. How do you feel about it?
It's interesting to me. I wish there was a little bit more about it that they talked about in the direct, because it doesn't seem from my standpoint that there's much there from what they were already talking about. But I do agree on the Battle Royale with blocks thought.
Yeah, well, it actually already came out on the Switch, and I've gotten my hands on it already, and I'll tell you what, not enjoying it. I don't know what it is. So you can only move the blocks with the D-pad, which the Switch's D-pad is notoriously bad, right? And then you use your right stick to determine who you're attacking. If you ever played like a Tetris game where you attack others before, you use your lines to attack them, right? It's sort of like a Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine sort of thing, where you're like sending stuff over against them. And I'm not particularly fond of how they set this up. So you're against 98 other people, and if like it is possible for you to just get completely blown out of the water in like 6 seconds and not even have a chance to get your lines out. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea. Not very happy about it though. And I haven't enjoyed playing it. Next thing I want to talk about, Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah, actually, I did want to touch on that. It's they're spreading out. It seemed like towards the end of Direct, they branched out a little bit with the Assassin's Creed 3
to non-RPG stuff. You're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So you obviously have experience with the Assassin's Creed franchise. This is one that's been on mostly the Xbox over the years, but it's also been on the PlayStation, right?
Right.
So I know for a fact you played Assassin's Creed 3. Are you excited that is coming out with a remaster? And beyond that, would you be interested in playing it on a handheld gaming system?
I'm definitely excited about it coming out, because I want to see some of what it was talking about in the Direct as far as controls coming out, or especially for the Switch with like touch controls and tilt and stuff. And they were talking about some newer gameplay elements being added. And it, from a perspective of a person who's been playing the Assassin's Creed games for a long time, I am excited. And I definitely would be interested in playing it. But it does seem very similar to me to the PSP Assassin's Creeds I think about.
See, I wouldn't know about handheld Assassin's Creed games that have come out before. What I will say is the original game came out on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, right? And back then, I believe, when it came out, you could only play the games in 720p. And what's interesting about the Switch is when it's docked, its maximum resolution is 1080p, 60 frames per second, right? But when you take it to go, it's 720p. So it seems like you'll be playing the game at the native resolution when you have it and in handheld mode, but then playing it as like an upscaled remastered 1080p version when you have it on the dock. I'm also interested, anytime something gets ported to like the Switch, there's usually some like Mario Easter egg sort of stuff that's in there. And since they announced that Ubisoft is bringing it to the Switch, it'd be really funny if you got to wear like let's say you put like a Mario cap on Desmond while you're out about running the world. That'd be really interesting.
I think that would be really great.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
It's just a little Nintendo touch to the game.
Okay, so next I wanted to talk about Daemon X Machina. This is the one that kind of looked like Gundam.
Alright.
So, big mecha fighting. Go.
I like the concept. I love the concept. Like huge robots. Like,
right.
It's.
So, I know I haven't particularly been fond of the Titanfall series. Have you played Titanfall much?
Only the first one.
Now, I don't know what it is about Titanfall. Every time I have tried to play it, the mechs just feel super slow to me. And it's not like very gripping for me being the shooter, but I think if it was like just a pure mecha brawling game, which is kind of what this looked like, that it'd be really fun. And it's given me some flashbacks to like early 2000s anime. So mecha's been kind of dead in anime for a while, right? There have been some good things lately, like Darling in the Franxx has brought mecha back in the spotlight just a little bit. But I think it'd be really interesting if mecha finds its new home in video games instead of in anime, you know?
I feel like that would be a really nice like revamp to the mecha genre. And like you're talking about, I do agree with in Titanfall, they seem super slow. And part of that, I think, is that the Titanfall, at least the first one, was trying to be a lot like the Black Ops games.
Uh-huh.
So they had the maps, but they were almost too congested to like inhabit the mechas. So as long as the environment's not too clustered, I think the mech brawling would be a definite cool feature to have, especially with like people up and coming in the game, like in the more modern era, who enjoyed the Pacific Rim movies.
Right. I think that we've got a little bit of a resurgence on mecha, so it'd be really interesting if it gets like more spotlight in gaming. Let's see. Next, I want to touch on Yoshi's Crafted World. What are your thoughts? I used to play a lot of Yoshi's Island as a kid. I don't know if you remember that when we had the Super Nintendo.
I do remember.
I'd play a crap ton of that, and then we got the Game Boy version. So I never got to play Yoshi's Woolly World. A lot of people feel that Yoshi's Crafted World was just going to be rehashed. What are your thoughts?
To me, Yoshi's Crafted World seemed very. Some of the ideas of it seemed very similar to like the Scribblenauts,
right?
Almost kind of idea, but as its own game, I feel like it could bring some interesting stuff.
Okay, so where I'm coming from, I think that they showed a few bosses that were in the older games, which is a nice kind of callback. I'd like to see if the fights are like exactly the same. I mean, it's not like it's the most groundbreaking type of gameplay in the world anyway. The visual update is pretty nice. I enjoy seeing a Yoshi game in high definition. That's pretty good. I want to see where this goes. I think it's going to be nice to have another Yoshi's game that can be on a handheld. I believe when Woolly World came out, it was originally only on the Wii U, and then they later made it so that there was a 3DS version of it. So the fact that this is coming out on Switch, you can just take it with you anyway. Very nice. that's going to be really fun just to like pick up and play for a little bit. They released a demo of it. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, but I would like to get my hands on it and see what the combat's going to be like. That being said, let's move on to the next topic. So I think we're gonna finish with Link's Awakening. Now, I know you haven't played a ton of Zelda games. That being said, as someone who's only played really Breath of the Wild, does this catch your eye? Like, would you be interested in playing the remake of Link's Awakening?
It's definitely an eye catcher in the terms of seeing something interesting that you just want to get your hands on and experience it, even not having much experience, if really any, in the Legend of Zelda game. It does seem like an interesting tactile almost game to experience the series for the first or the fifth time, depending on who you are.
Right. How do you feel about I've described it as like a claymation sort of animation style. Do you think that's going to be fun for new audiences?
I definitely think it will. The kind of claymation style, it felt like the Yoshi's World we talked about seemed like that, and it's a very interesting style to go with because I feel like it can grip a lot of people, but in practice I think it brings a little bit of difficulty, but I'm sure we'll see that.
What do you mean by difficulty there?
Just the way that things blend together. I feel like you can get lost in the environment.
Okay, I guess that's
what you're doing.
Personally, I think that it's going to provide a little bit more pop. I do think it's really interesting to see from the last Zelda project that we saw, Breath of the Wild, being this very, I don't know quite how to describe it. I'd say it's more like a painting looking at it, you know. We're going from this painting sort of vibe into claymation. I think they're really trying to stretch out and experience like a full breadth of different types of art styles for Zelda, and I think that's kind of fitting with the series as it's changed over the years. It hasn't always been the same type of game, so it's always been quote unquote an RPG, but the way in which you play Zelda isn't the same from game to game, so the art style changing very drastically between games also gives you sort of that like this is its own body of work sort of vibe, you know. So I think we're going to wrap up with that. Thank you so much for everyone that watches. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Share this with your friends, help get the videos out. And we love you guys. Have a great day.